Yeah. So I think we got lost. But thank you, Deb, for asking the question. And so Deb asked about microorganisms, and so you're going to have to start again.
Sure. So the most important thing is not necessarily the microorganisms in the vernal pool. What's important is what's not there. You can't have pollution. You can't have hydrocarbons. You can't have nitrogen. You have to have clean water with an intact surrounding upland in order for the vernal pool to be successful. My company did a study of the vernal pools adjacent to the existing Providence rail line and compared those vernal pools to pristine vernal pools in the Hockomock Swamp in Easton, where they want to put a train line through, and we found a significant difference just from the diesel, from the hydrocarbons emitted from the diesel trains. So those pools had virtually nothing alive in it, whereas the pristine ones were teeming with life, with fairy shrimp, with salamanders, and with frogs. So it's not so matter what's in there. You have a healthy ecosystem if it's clean water and vegetative matter with some sunlight and lots of plants around it.
Great. Thanks, Deb, for your question. And, do you want to talk about certified? Like, what does it mean to be a certified vernal pool?
So Massachusetts is one of those very few states that offers additional protection to vernal pools, which is great. So the Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program at the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife have what they call a certification program. And anybody, anywhere, can certify a vernal pool, which will give it additional protection from development and filling. So if you look it up online, you can just go to Google and type in certifying vernal pools in Massachusetts and the form will come up. But basically all you need to do is prove it's a vernal pool by showing that there are obligate vernal pool species breeding in there. So for example, I was in the Borderland State Park last night and I heard wood frogs calling, that quacking that I talked about before. They're an obligate vernal pool species. If I had tape recorded that and then taken a picture of the pool and proved that there wasn't any kind of permanent flowing outlet that fish could get in, then I could certify that vernal pool. So you can also, there are other methods of certifying it, but the easiest way to do it is to demonstrate that there are obligate species there that are breeding, either through the frogs chorusing or from finding 5 or more egg masses.
That's what I think that's the one that I knew about because it sounded really hard to do.
But
I could do a tape recorder.
It's actually not that hard to do, and something fun for those of you who are interested or have kids interested, there's actually a data layer that's available to the public that shows both the certified vernal pools and what the state calls potential vernal pools. These are areas that they've identified from aerial photography that are probably vernal pools, but they haven't had the chance to go out there and certify them, and actually the state isn't the one that ever certifies them. They rely on us, general people and citizens to do it. So you can find a potential vernal pool in your neighborhood. Don't trespass on private land, but if you find one on conservation land or in a park or something like that and it's not yet certified, this is a great time of year between now and the next month to go out and actually certify the pool.
Great. Deb, you might think about that. Are there other ways that people can protect vernal pools?
Education is a really good way to protect vernal pools. And you know, what's so fascinating about these areas is that it's really, because they're small and shallow, it's easy for kids to get in and see the egg masses being laid. You can see the eggs developing, you can see them hatch and turn into tiny little salamanders and frogs as they progress through metamorphosis. And what's important about them is that these animals are a really, really important part of the food web. And so frogs and salamanders, when they're adults, eat a ton of insects. And if we lose them, and amphibians are getting more and more endangered throughout the world every year because of climate change, because of viruses, because of funguses, because of habitat destruction. So if we lose them, we're losing a lot of insect control and we're losing the food for other species. So you'll have raccoons, possums, otters, coyotes, fisher. They all will eat the frogs and salamanders, and they'll even eat the eggs. So it's a really important part of the entire food web.
We have another question from Amy. She just wants a reminder of where you said that they can find the information on the location of current and pending vernal pools.
Sure. You can just go, I don't have the exact website off the top of my head, but if you go to Google or any other search engine, Google's my favorite, but you can use any one you want, and you can just type in map, Massachusetts, certified vernal pools, or you can say potential vernal pools, because the ones that aren't yet certified are called potential vernal pools. And the website will come up. It's part of the Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program website, which is NHESP. And they have the data layers, and you can just click on it. You can put in an address of your house, for example, and it'll show you all the potential vernal pools and certified vernal pools around your house.
Great. Often every spring we kind of give a notice about leashing your dog. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So when you're in a park or Blue Hills or anywhere with your dog, you know, some dogs are very curious, and when they see a frog jump or a salamander scurry, they see any kind of movement, they're going to go after it. And they can also, if they go into the vernal pool to swim, a lot of dogs are big swimmers, they can disrupt the egg masses. When the eggs are laid, they're laid, usually the ones that have the big masses, like the spotted salamander and the wood frogs, they're laid around a stick like this. And if they're dislodged, the eggs will fail. And so because there's such a high mortality rate with these eggs, so for example, one salamander can lay hundreds and hundreds of eggs, and out of those, probably only one will reach sexual maturity. So there's a high mortality rate. You don't want to contribute to that by having your dog swimming in the pool and dislodging the eggs from their sticks.
Right. So you're always supposed to have your dog on a leash, but now it's one reason it's really important.
So some of the parks actually put up caution tape around the vernal pools once the eggs are laid to keep people and pets from going in there.
Great. So you were talking about how, the water is only here in the spring, but some species use the pools in the fall.
There's one species here in New England and around the country. It's a threatened species here in Massachusetts. It's called the marbled salamander, Ambystoma opacum. And this salamander has a really interesting life strategy. Instead of coming in the spring when all the other species come, what they do is the females will go to the dried up pools in the late fall, and they will lay their eggs in the bottom of the dried pool, like underneath a log, and the females will actually guard the eggs. They only lay a few, like, 10 to 12 to, not that many. Not hundreds or thousands like the other species. So the females stay with the eggs and guard them. And when the fall rains come and fill up the pool, the female will leave and go to her wintering habitat, and the eggs will actually overwinter. They'll hatch during the winter underneath the ice, and by the time spring rolls around, they're actually little larvae that are about this big. And they have a jump on all the other species, so those larvae will actually prey on the wood frog eggs and the spotted salamander eggs and things like that, because they're already farther ahead than the other species. So it's a really cool strategy.
Yeah, and I bet the other animals are really glad that that's an endangered species.
Yeah, they probably are. We do have marbled salamanders in this area, but I don't know if Blue Hills has them or not.
We can look that up.
Yeah.
Are there other things that you think we should know about vernal pools? Or if there's any other questions, let us know too.
I think the most important thing to realize is how important these pools are, not only to the whole food chain, but we don't know, there are certain species that we call keystone species, where if you significantly reduce their population or get rid of them, then you're going to cause this chain reaction, which can be dangerous to a host of other species, including humans. We don't want to kill off amphibians. They're what we consider the canary in the coal mine. Because amphibians breathe through their skin, they're the first ones to succumb to toxins in the environment. So if you don't have a healthy amphibian population, there's something wrong with your environment. These species are also, some of them are really long-lived. Like these spotted salamanders, the black ones with the yellow dots, they live to be 20 to 25 years old. So they have personalities, they're not just dispensable, animals that don't mean anything. They're not like some people consider insects. They're adorable. They're friendly. They're really cute. They look both ways before they cross the road. They really do. And they live for so long, and they rely on the pool in which they were born. So you don't want to destroy their pool. So if you have a vernal pool in your backyard, don't cut down the trees around it. Don't dump stuff in it like leaf clippings and grass clippings and leaves. Try to be respectful of their space and let them do what they have to do, because it's not only important to them, but it's important to all of us.
Good. And you probably should end there, but I did have another question.
Sure.
You know, when you said that there's no big night now, that
this year there wasn't. Yeah.
When they come, like, not all together, is that like a problem for their population?
Do you hear that? That was a wood frog.
Oh, I did.
I'm sorry. Is it trouble for population? Well, so there it goes. You hear it? That's a wood frog calling. So this is a certifiable vernal pool. So
and if we caught it on the tape, then we could send it in.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
So the answer to your question is there's more of a chance for them to get killed if it's spread out over, because a lot of them, not in Blue Hills or not in a state park or in large conservation tracts, but like, for example, at the Audubon Sanctuary in Sharon, the salamanders and the frogs have to cross a road to get to the vernal pools. And we used to, years ago, 20 years ago, we used to go every big night, and we'd go out there with signs and slow the cars down, and when we saw one start to cross, we'd bend down, pick it up, and run it to the other side of the road so they didn't get run over, because the mortality was extreme. When you have it spread out over a number of nights or a number of weeks, there's just more of a chance for mortality. So that's why it's a problem. So yeah, I mean, the changing climate is a problem. It's a problem. Yeah.
Good. Well, thank you, Kyla.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for watching Blue Hills Alive, your weekly guide to the Blue Hills. We thank our sponsor, Tom O'Neill of Success Real Estate in Milton. And I just want to give another shout out to Green Up the Blue Hills on April 28th at 9 o'clock at Houghton's Pond. And you can bring your kids, and adults can come and just help out in the Blue Hills in trail maintenance and other activities. And we hope to see you next Thursday at noon when we'll be talking about nature photography. Thanks.